In order to have any chance to fully understand someone's perspective, I think it's always important to understand their frame of reference. The lessons that I have learned along the way, I truly have learned the hard way, and I think that's the best way you can learn them. I am a big quote guy, so I wanted to share with y'all one of the quotes that I think is key to our success. Man is not meant to be humble, he's meant to be humbled. I often get asked, don't you wish SoldierFit had taken off sooner? And the no-brainer answer to that question is yes. The truth, however, is no. If we had found our success 5 years ago, I would have burned it to the ground. But I hadn't yet come to the fire, and maybe that's why we hadn't found it. My story begins when I was 2 years old, when my great aunt and my uncle adopted me. I grew up an outcast in my own home. My personality and my family's personality couldn't have been more different. With zero desire to go into the family business of cutting down trees, I was deemed as lazy and worthless. On top of all of this, my brother and my sister molested me, and this became a recipe for disaster that would plague me for the years to come. And it all started in high school. Set in my high school graduation, where I graduated 146 out of 147, I felt like I had run out of options. I felt like what so many had told me was true, that high school was the best time of my life, and now that it had climaxed, I was going to be relegated to a life of misery and contempt. With that notion in mind, I began what would be a miserable time period for me. I left for boot camp in the fall, and shortly thereafter, my adopted mother passed away from breast cancer. 6 months after her passing, my brother would kill himself. I would attend the funeral, and with no connections left to my home, it was the last time I would ever go back. Heaped on top of this were additional traumas to my psyche. I took the first team into the Pentagon on 9/11 to remove remains. As I sat there next to the widow's tent and listened to the lonely tears of those who had lost their entire world, my anger grew. I wanted to get deployed, but the unit that I was in was not in a deployment rotation. And after a bad run-in with an officer that led to a souring of my opinion for the military and the amount of control that they had over my life, I ended up leaving the service. I would start working at Fitness First Health Clubs. That's where I met Dave. I got fired. He was promoted to general manager. With no job and no income and horrible credit, I wound up homeless. It was because of Dave that would find couches for me to crash on that I was able to sustain. With no clear goal in mind and a deep-rooted anger in my belly, I rejoined the military. Not 2 weeks after that, a request came down for somebody to replace a service member that had been killed in Iraq. I raised my hand, and I was in country just 2 short weeks later. There I completed over 700 convoy missions throughout the theater of operations. I've been blown up and shot at just about anywhere you can get blown up and shot at in Iraq. While I was in that country, I have sadly seen friends injured, and I have lost friends. I have seen the absolute best of man, and I have seen the worst. Prior to going over there, I was full of cracks. Coming home officially left me a broken man. When I got home, I got a job working with high school kids, setting window appointments door to door. Imagine that. I had gone from leading troops in combat to now having a career that high school kids use as a part-time gig. I wanted desperately to get out of this pit that I was in, but I was scared to try anything for fear of failure, not realizing at that moment in time that every time that I refused to try, my failure was assured. Wallowing in my own self-pity, the life that I dreamed of seemed so far beyond my grasp. While I blamed the world, I refused to accept that the architect of my own unhappiness was me. Fueled by my belief that I held no value because I held no title, I simply sank deeper into my own despair. After all, I wasn't a manager, I wasn't a graduate, I didn't come from money, and I didn't have any family. If no one in my own bloodline wanted me, how could I ever expect that any organization would? So I drifted aimlessly along on an ocean of my own tears, carried by my vessel of shame, until I came crashing upon the rocks in a hidden cove. For me, that cove was my own self-induced isolation. Hidden in the back, far from the eyes of those who cared about me, I set anchor to my broken ship, and I started drilling holes. One night, shortly after my first marriage deteriorated, it all came to a head. That night, I went out drinking by myself, and I hardly ever drank. Sitting there surrounded by strangers, I hit rock bottom. It is my opinion that there is nothing worse than being alone in a crowded room. I had to get out, and so I left and went home. I had held suicidal ideation my entire life. That night, with an intense desire to end my sadness, I started popping pain pills. In a perfect storm of depression and depressants, I tied a knot in my sheets and I made a jump for it. Now, I'm not sure why. Maybe my knot tying skills were off due to intoxication. Maybe God just had other plans for me. But the next day, I woke up in FMH's psych ward. Locked away in a room with a painting of a lone palm tree, I felt like that palm tree. I felt like I was destined to be and spend the rest of my life in just undiscovered solitude. The next 3 days were crucial for me, however. They convinced me that the only way that I would ever make it out is if I patched my holes that I put in my ship and set sail for home. So after checking out and getting some professional help, I began again. Luckily for me, there were 2 lighthouses close by. You see, I found mentors that saw the good in me that I didn't see in myself. Men like Master Mike Moses, who owns Evolve Academy here in Gaithersburg, and my business partner, Dave Posen, who did more than just restore my faith in humanity. They restored my faith in me. They helped me turn my life around, but first, I had to seek them out, and I had to listen to their counsel. Since I decided to listen to those who wanted to lift me up, rather than tear me down, some pretty amazing things have happened. Our company went from being the laughingstock of Montgomery County. And I don't mean this figuratively. I mean, I told him about our idea, he looked me in the eye, he laughed at me, said it would never work, and walked away. Till we have won Small Business of the Year in Germantown, Small Business of the Year in Frederick, Small Business of the Year for Frederick County. I have been awarded the top 40, under 40, very important professionals shaping the future of Maryland. I've gone from a kid that barely graduated high school to the man who gave the commencement address at one. I have gone from being homeless to owning a business that is slated to make $2.5 million this year. We now own 3 gyms with a plan to open a 4th gym later this year in December, and we have franchised our company with the expectation that the first franchise we awarded will open about the same time. Now, I am not telling you any of this to brag about me. I didn't do any of it by myself. I'm telling you this because I know a fact, and that there is always a possibility that there is somebody in this room right now that thinks there is not a way out. And I'm here to tell you it is never too late to turn it around. So as you can imagine, I have learned quite a bit along the way. So for the sake of time, though, I wanted to share my top 3 lessons. Number 1, no one is irreplaceable, including you. Yes, all of you. Far too often, in my opinion, leaders, and especially entrepreneurs, feel that they're the most important person in the world. Without them, assuredly the machine would fall apart. I am here to tell you that nothing is farther from the truth. I don't believe in MVPs. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe in an individual's worth or what they bring to a team. It's just that I don't believe that any individual is bigger than the team, including and especially the leader. People often talk about MVPs in sports and how if someone were to leave, it would be the end of the world. How could we replace them? Yet time and time again, teams continue to win championships after athletes move on. Why is that? It's because it's for the team, not the individual. Nothing drives this point home more than war. You were taught on day one that if the leader goes down, you are expected to step up. Leaders are expected to lead from the front. And that means that many in the leadership positions will be killed. Armed with this knowledge, military leaders are driven to train their subordinates every day to be able to replace them. The subordinates, in turn, are expected to know 3 positions above them, so that if the unfortunate incident happens, they step up and complete their mission. I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question. Are you running your organization like this? Do you want your dreams to die with you? Because if you're not, they will. SoldierFit is bigger than me. We have over 3,000 members. We have 50 employees. If I die tomorrow, I have nothing but extreme confidence that someone will step up, take my place, and move our dreams on to new and better heights. Lesson 2. If you do it all, you will fail. Lesson 1 drives lesson 2. Far too many people hold on to everything. They're hoarders. They're hoarders of the knowledge. They're hoarders of the mission, of the passion. You know, I get people ask me all the time, they say, hey, how are you not burnt out? How do you do it? Do you even sleep? How is it that you run a company, a nonprofit, ride with a motorcycle club, have a little farm, 4 goats, 4 dogs, 3 ducks, and still spend time with your family? The answer really is extremely simple. I ask for and I allow others to help me. I can never do this all on my own. By empowering others to run with our dreams, we're helping to create tomorrow's leaders today within our organizations and in our communities. Tom Peters said, "True leaders don't create more followers, they create more leaders." When it is all said and done, there are only so many hours in the day, and you can only be one place at a time. No matter how talented you are, no matter how hard you work, your individual abilities have limits. If you will not enable others to lead within your organization, then I promise you that your dreams have a shelf life, and it is one that is getting closer by the minute. Often when I speak about this, I've heard business owners say things like this: "I can't do that. No one can explain it like me. No one has the same passion for it that I do." Well, guess what? If they don't, that's your fault, not the staff's. Teach them what you know. Share with them your passion. Empower them with the mission. Trust them to lead, and they will become the force multipliers that you need to accomplish your goals. They will take your dreams to heights that you never imagined, and the best part is they'll be accomplishing their dreams as well. Lesson 3. It is the purpose, not your product or service, that matters. I watched a video once about what really motivates people, and it's not money. There are really 3 things. First up is autonomy. We want to be in control of our own lives. We want to follow our own compass. No one wants to spend their lives micromanaged. This is a perfect example of Rule 2. I mean, think about it for a second. I bet if we polled the room, the majority of y'all went into business for yourself, or you sought upper-level management because of a poor leadership experience that you had to deal with. Do not become the poor leadership that you despise. Allow your people the freedom to guide their own ships, and I promise you, they will bring your dreams home every day. Next up is mastery. We like to get better at things. There's a great deal of satisfaction that comes from working hard and seeing the results that it produces. That's why working out is so addictive to people. I firmly believe that no man or woman wakes up in the morning and thinks to themselves, "I want to see how bad I can mess up today." We all want to get better at things. It's why we pick up new hobbies, even later in life. Think about it. The guy that starts playing the guitar at 35, he has no illusions of becoming a rock star, but still there's such tremendous satisfaction from learning the chords to a new song and being able to jam out in his garage like he is one. You must ask yourself, are you and your leadership teams providing opportunities to mastery for your people? If you give them the ability to get better at things rather than shoving mundane tasks in their face over and over again, you'll be surprised at how many people make their careers their hobby. Lastly, and most importantly, is purpose. What are you trying to do? How do you want to make the world a better place? As a startup company, I can tell you that almost every single one of our leaders took a pay cut to come on. Do you really think they did that to sell gym memberships or to train a client? I promise you they did not. After all, there are literally thousands of companies out there that do what we do. And in the end, there are only so many variations of a push-up. Can you imagine how boring that would be after a while? No, they did it because of our mission. And our mission is to revitalize the American dream, to remind Americans across the world through our example that in America you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. In fact, that is the reason that I accepted the ability to come speak with y'all here today. You see, in our company, we still believe that America is the greatest country on earth, that there is no soil better for planting and growing your dreams. All of you in this room are the fertilizer, the water, and the cultivators for America's dreams. Small business, depending on where you look, employs 50 to 60% of the workforce. There is no doubt that small business is the backbone of our nation. It is small business that always has and always will chart the course toward success for this country. I came here to share some of what I've learned because, ladies and gentlemen, I know the truth. We don't just want you to succeed, we need you to succeed. It is my sincere hope that all of you in this room find success beyond your wildest dreams so that I may stand by your side as we put small business back in the driver's seat for America to do so revitalize her dream for all Americans. Thank you to each and every one of y'all, and especially the award winners, for all the time that you dedicate back into our communities and indeed our nation. God bless. Have a good day.